Candombe, candomba, candombe, bambula ese allá.
Candombe, candomba, candombe, bambula ese allá.
Este es un baile de bomba que dieron en Solar. Tocaron candombe, bambula ese allá.
Candombe, candomba, candombe, bambula ese allá.
Bambula este por aquí, bambula este por allá. Ay, dame un candombe, bambula este allá.
Candombe, candomba, candombe, bambula ese allá.
Bambula este por aquí, bambula este por allá.
Candombe, bambula ese allá.
Ay, bambula este allá.
Bambula ese allá.
Ay, bambula este allá.
Bambula ese allá.
Sea allá.
Bambula ese allá.
Sea allá.
Bambula ese allá.
De Loíza traigo bomba.
Bambula ese
Mi
allá.
bomba de Loíza pa' bailar.
Bambula ese
Mi
allá.
bomba de Loíza pa' gozar.
Bambula ese
Mi
allá.
bomba puertorriqueña.
Bambula ese
Mi
allá.
bomba bien cultural.
Bambula ese allá.
Ay, bambula ese allá.
Bambula ese allá.
Ay, bambula ese allá.
Bambula ese allá.
Sea allá.
Bambula ese allá.
Candombe, candomba, candombe, bambula ese allá.
Candombe, candomba, candombe, bambula ese allá.
Este es un baile de bomba que dieron en Solar. Tocaron candombe, bambula ese ajá.
Candombe, candomba, candombe, bambula ese allá. Candombe, candomba, candombe, bambula ese allá.
Thank you for being here again. This is the virtual Hispanic Heritage Month of Intrinsic Schools. And as part of this educational program, because we understand that not everybody knows what bomba is, we have one of our resident artists and experts here, my friend Quincy. He has a ton of experience, of course. He has played with Africaribe. He's part of Los Pleneros de Don Segundo here at Segundo Ruiz Belvis, and works in many different capacities in the community, somebody that I admire a lot. And I'm gonna ask him to introduce some of the instruments of bomba and some of the wonderful musicians that we have here.
Awesome. Thank you, Omar. Yeah, I would hardly call myself an expert. I always see myself as continuously learning throughout life. So, but yeah, I have been doing bomba for about 15 years now in different capacities. So, it's something that brings me a lot of joy. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the instruments that we've been using. These instruments, it's not a conga, all right? Don't confuse it. It's called a barril. Barril means barrel. And so these were just that. Back in the old days, they used to, discard the barrels, that the wine and stuff came in on the ships. And so our African ancestors would take them, sand them down, string them back together. They had a different mechanism back in the day. So they would have like a rope tourniquet kind of system. And then they threw a goat skin on top. And then that's pretty much the barril de bomba, or the barrel drum that we use here. So I have silo here. If you can give me a sika. And so the barril, the first drum here is called the buleador. All right. Buleador, the main function of the buleador is to keep the basic rhythm, right? And then after that, we have the primo drum, all right, which is Jose is going to play. So the word primo, it doesn't come like from cousin, if you speak Spanish. It actually comes from the Latin word prima, which means first. And so it's usually the first drum, and it's usually higher pitched, which the main function of that is to repicar, or to improvise different hits And then later on with the dancer, the primo player is gonna follow the dancer, right? So that synergy is going on. And then we have this instrument here called the kwa. The kwa actually comes from the old French word, well, quat, four, meaning the measurement of the length of the stick. It's actually, we got this from the Taínos, which is an indigenous group in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. And so they would use these sticks in ceremonies like aretos, and they would play it on like a hard log of wood. And so they incorporated that into bomba as well. And so it kind of keeps the pulse of the rhythm. Okay? And this is Mike playing the kwa. So that's going. And then we also have La Maraca, which is going to be played by Erica. The maraca also, we got it from the Taínos. The cacique used to hold the maraca, and it was a very powerful instrument to kind of like command and to kind of bring people's attention, right? And so this was incorporated into bomba as well. La maraca de higuera. Higuera is like a gourd, and it goes on the tree. They take the gourd, they hollow it out, and they put seeds or little pebbles, and then put a stick to make this maraca. And so, yeah, all these instruments come together, and yeah, that's the instrumentation of bomba.
And Erica, because she's singing, Erica is kind of like keeping the tempo too and telling everybody what she wants because she's leading the song, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's important that the lead singer has that opportunity to keep that rhythm also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have Chris here with me as well. We've been doing the backup singing. Bomba is interesting because, Puerto Rico obviously, speaks Spanish mainly on the island. But there's also been lots of influences in the songs from Haiti, from other areas where migrants have come. And, every town has their own tradition of bomba for the most part. And so you might hear some words in some of the songs that come from other islands and other traditions that have incorporated themselves into bomba.
Excellent. So I think this is a good setup for our next song, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Tell us more about the song, or tell us what the next song will be and the rhythm.
So yeah, we're going to switch up voices, and I'm actually going to be singing a Yuba. All right. So firstly, we did a Quembe, and then we did the rhythm of Sika. And so we're going to go to the rhythm of Yuba. All right.
Perfect. Yuba, con nuestra gente aquí haciendo bomba puertorriqueña de la rica.
A tu esta lengua sejadora,
Sejadora no más, sejadora no más.
no sea tan bochinchera engañadora.
Sejadora no más, sejadora no más.
Sejadora no más, sejadora no más.
Sejadora no más, sejadora no más.
Por eso nadie te quiere engañadora.
Sejadora no más, sejadora no más.
Sejadora no más, sejadora no más.
Sejadora no más, sejadora no más.
Ay, por tu esta lengua sejadora.
Sejadora no más,
Okay, welcome back to Segundo Ruiz Belvis Cultural Center. We're here for virtual Hispanic Heritage Month for Intrinsic Schools. And we recently saw you dance on Bomba. And of course, dancing is such an important part of Bomba. And I wanted to give you, Erica, a little moment to explain what's happening, because it's really interesting how every move you make, it seems like there's a reaction or a translation that happens in the drum. So tell me more about that relationship of the drum and the dancer in Bomba.
So between the dancer and the drummer, there is definitely a relationship. For me, I take it as I'm speaking to the primo player. So I always tend to say my sentence and pause. And when I pause, that's my period, and then I go to the next sentence. So I usually do like 3 sentences, and then to just have that connection with the primo player. And there's it's a lot of emotion depending on which rhythm it is, but there's a lot of emotions, excitement and happiness, so it varies.
Great. So we're going to demonstrate a little bit of what that looks like. But before we do that, I want to remind you of what these drums do so that you get an idea of what we're doing. So Silo here is going to be playing the buleador. And the buleador is the one, like we said before, that holds the general rhythm. And it's such an important drum because without it, everything goes to hell. So it's very important that that drum is always on beat, like anchoring everything. And that, the more rich and the more anchored that sound is, the easier it will be for the improvising drum to just speak and connect with the dancer, because what he's going to try to do is to translate whatever she's doing in movement, Erica, into the improvising drum. So I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to have you guys do a rhythm, and we're going to have, without any voices or anything, we're going to have Erica show you what this conversation is all about, okay? So once again, thank you for being here. We're live from Segundo Ruiz Belvis Cultural Center. This is Hispanic Heritage Month for Intrinsic Schools. Thank you very much. Welcome to Segundo Ruiz Belvis Cultural Center. We're recording here for virtual Hispanic Heritage Month for Intrinsic Schools. And we're very honored to be invited again, and also to have some guests from Intrinsic Schools. We have Kyla and Rana. And Kyla is she's a sophomore student at Intrinsic Schools. And Rana is the assistant principal in the downtown campus. So we're very excited to have them here to tell us a little bit more about this tradition and how they've worked really hard to keep it alive, even with all the challenges that we're facing with this global pandemic and everything that's going on in the world right now. So we want to welcome you first. Welcome. And first, I'd like to talk to Kyla from the student perspective, because she's been here before. And normally, we would be having over 200 students here celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, doing workshops, doing performances. But this time, we have to bring it to you in this medium. And I wanted to ask you about your last experience here at Segundo Ruiz Belvis. What was it like to learn about Puerto Rican culture in a different way in an organization that maybe you were first introduced to? What was the experience like?
Yeah, so when I came here, we actually did an activity where we made drums out of recycled materials. We were all grouped up here with tables working together, and then once we finished making the drums, we came into a circle and we all played music together with the band and danced.
So thank you for bringing that up. That was a great memory. I hope that we can do that in person sometime very soon again. And now I want to take it over to Rana because I'm just very impressed with the commitment of Intrinsic Schools to engage the community partners again. This, of course, helps us as a community organization too, to get our message out there, to get our students excited about different cultures. And I think that it's a key role that you're playing in the community, and you're affecting many different communities in Chicago. So tell me more about the thought, the challenge of presenting this year, some of the participants and other organizations.
Yeah, so our across-campus traditions in celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month is so important to who we are as a school. Our students come from all over Chicago, and we constantly talk about embracing different ethnicities and cultures. And this is a tradition that we've kept alive for so long. And with COVID happening, although it was going to change things, it was not going to stop the tradition that we've had for so long that's so important to our students, our staff members, and our families.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the organizations that are participating in this Hispanic Heritage Month celebration?
Sure. So on Monday, we had a Latin dance course with the Miracle Center. Was wonderful to watch. Our families and staff members and students participated in it. It was great to see on Zoom. On Tuesday, we had a culinary experience with Urban Pilon. One of our principals was actually one of the chefs on the show. It was great to watch her through that experience. On Wednesday, we had a slam poetry piece with Urban Gateways. Was great for our students because a lot of them are working on these poetry units in their humanities courses. So it was nice to see them take what they've been learning and see it live. On Thursday, we had a gallery kind of walk with National Mexican Museum of Art. It was a wonderful experience for our students because a lot of our students haven't been there, so they were being exposed to the art for the first time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for being here. We're very excited. We feel honored to be a part of this great celebration. And be sure to check out all the great videos that they've been putting out. And hopefully this will be completely different next year.
Angolé, lele, Angolé, baila mi bomba, mi ritmo holandés.
Angolé, lele, Angolé, baila mi bomba, mi ritmo holandés.
Toca, toca los tambores, a mi ritmo holandés. Baila, baila esa bomba de mi borinquen.
Angolé, lele, Angolé, baila mi bomba, mi ritmo holandés.
Baila mi bomba, mi ritmo holandés. Gozar esa bomba, mi querido Angolé.
Angolé, lele, Angolé, baila mi
Welcome to Segundo Ruiz Belvis. We're back here again with Los Pleneros de Don Segundo to bring you the second part of the program that is highlighting Plena, which is the other form of Puerto Rican music, Afro-Puerto Rican music, born in the 20th century, very much influenced by Bomba, but a completely different genre on its own. And what we love about Plena is that is the music that we hear the most during the Christmas season in Puerto Rico, all the celebrations, and even there's a type of plena, the plena lamento, that is used when people die. So any kind of life moment is somehow expressed in the culture of plena in Puerto Rico. And because we know that this is probably the first time that many of you are seeing Plena or understanding where Plena comes from, we want Michael, the director of Los Pleneros de Don Segundo, to introduce each one of the instruments so you see how the conversation with the drums happens and how this infectious rhythm is created. So, Michael, welcome. We're very excited to have you here. This is not your first rodeo with Intrinsic Schools, for sure.
Oh, shout out to all of our students that have been coming to the center. I love all you guys. We miss you.
Yes, and all of the guys here have at some point participated in some of the workshops with the students and Intrinsic Schools. So shout out to Intrinsic Schools. And Michael, tell us a little bit about the different instruments that are part of what make Plena music.
Yeah, Plena. Plena is such a wonderful music. I think the first thing that has to be said about Plena is that Plena is movement music, whether it's moved in slow, whether it's moved fast, it's a movement music. It's a music that has what we call a cadencia or a cadence. It's a music that causes your body to move, whether you're moving slow or fast. So if you're watching us on TV and you're not moving, it's not my fault because we're over here and we're moving and we're having fun and we're having a good time with Plena. And that was my introduction to Plena. So let's get into the instruments, right? Yes. So over here, all the way at the end, we have a drum that's called the seguidor. And the root word in seguidor is seguir, which means to follow, right? So this is the drum that all the other panderos tend to follow. It keeps a constant rhythm that doesn't change. And we have the great El Alto Jose Natal, who is one of our great teachers and treasures here in Chicago, playing the seguidor, and he's going to show us how he does it so skillfully. So if you notice, it's a very straight rhythm. If you're into house music or something, it's just boom, 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 and it doesn't change. It's just a constant rhythm that everyone follows, right? So now we have our second drum that's also called a segundo or a punteador that is being played by my first percussion teacher, Isabelino Landor, who has taught me a lot of my bomba and plena passes, and he's playing the punteador, which is playing a drum rhythm that is like a conversation that's happening with the seguidor, and this is how you play the punteador. So if you notice, there's a conversation that's happening. Boom, beam, boom, boom, beam, boom, boom, beam, boom. I'm gonna be quiet so you can hear that. See how that kind of just makes you want to move, right? So when that conversation is happening, now we have the great, once again, teacher, maestro, Quincy Rags here, and he's playing a drum that's called the requinto. The requinto is the soloist. It's like another background singer. It's the drum that brings the alegría or the fun into the plena, and he's gonna show you those patterns right now.
Habla, Quincy.
Yeah. See, so it's very improvisational, but yet it still has its own language to it. And then finally, we have the instrument that I play, which is called a guiro. It actually comes in a family of guiros because we have the guiro that's in the Dominican Republic. We have another guiro that's in Cuba. This happens to be the guiro that comes from Puerto Rico, and this particular guiro is called a guicharo. It's made out of a marimba fruit. Shout out to Buya. And it sounds like this.
mensaje para toda la humanidad. Les desea el segundo Ruiz Belvis y los pleneros de Don Segundo, que dice así. Dalambili, Dambilio. La dulzura de la vida me hizo ver de no darme por vencido, que en la vida hay que vencer. Soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan, soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan, y estoy de pie. Y nadie nos va a tumbar. Soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan. Yo estoy de pie y nadie nos va a tumbar.
Soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan. Estoy de pie y nadie nos va a tumbar.
Ay, yo soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan. Yo estoy de pie y nadie nos va a tumbar. Mira, no va.
Soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan. Estoy de pie y nadie nos va a tumbar.
Abro los ojos y veo un amanecer, y la dulzura de la vida me hizo ver y mucho más.
Soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan. Estoy de pie y nadie nos va a tumbar.
Ay, pa' presentarme le quiero yo presentar Michael y Quincy, también Omar, el centro cultural.
Soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan. Estoy de pie y nadie nos va a tumbar.
Llegaron los pleneros de Don Segundo
Y nadie nos va a tumbar.
ay, tocando la rica plena,
Nadie nos va a tumbar.
y nadie nos va a tumbar.
Nadie nos va a tumbar.
De Segundo de Ruiz Belvis,
Nadie nos va a tumbar.
de ese centro cultural,
Nadie nos va a tumbar.
que suene, que suene, que suene.
Nadie nos va a tumbar.
Ay, tocando la rica plena,
Nadie nos va a tumbar.
mi mensaje le quiero dar
Nadie nos va a tumbar.
para toda la humanidad.
Nadie nos va a tumbar.
Ah, soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan. Yo estoy de pie y nadie nos va a tumbar. Soy más duro que Roble y el Flamboyan. Yo estoy de pie y nadie nos va a tumbar. Andando con Papochin, se toca la rica plena. Salimos desde Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera. Andando con Papochin, se toca la rica plena. Salimos desde Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera. Andando con Papochin, se toca la rica plena. Salimos desde Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Andando con
Papochin, Papochin en
toca la rica plena. Salimos desde Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Su nombre es Ramón Rivera, nacido en la 3:30. Mira, nació en Cataño y llega a Villa Palmera.
Andando con Papochin,
Papochin,
se toca la rica plena. Salimos desde Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
ahí se forma en la colectora y llegamos a Villa Palmera. Tocando, mira, canto la rica plena.
Andando con Papochin,
Papochin en
toca la rica plena. Salimos desde Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
ay, andamos tocando plena con el maestro, mira tu ruella. Tocando con Papochin, la tocan buena.
Andando con Papochin,
Papochin,
toca la rica plena. Salimos desde Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
salimos desde Cataño,
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
ay, el enero de Don Segundo.
Barrio Obrero y Villa
tocando desde Chicago.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Ahí tocando la plena buena.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
A la zona del Quincy Rex. Oye,
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
para la gente de allá de Barrio Obrero y la 3:30.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Allá también en la Colectora y Villa Palmera.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Para mi gente de allá Cataño.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
De tu abaca la ponen buena.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Salimos desde Cataño.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Tocando la plena buena.
Barrio Obrero y Villa
Mira
Palmera.
la que tocan, 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 la que tocan.
Villa Palmera.
Si te tocan la plena buena.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Suena requinto. Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera. Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera. Barrio Obrero y Villa
Palmera.
se tocan ahí en Cataño.
Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
Coro, andando con Papochin, se toca la rica plena. Salimos de Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera. Andando con Papochin, se toca la rica plena. Salimos de Cataño, Barrio Obrero y Villa Palmera.
We're not just doing, your traditional plenas here, right? And I think it's important to point out that we're making an effort here at Segundo Ruiz Belvis to give you a space to create new plenas, okay? So the songs that you heard are all written by Chris Suárez, Chicago guy, but born and raised in Puerto Rico. So he brings all that street jargon from the island. He brings the feeling of Plena, and that's something that not everybody can do, okay? Because Plena can sound very different and with many different voices, but if you don't have a real connection with the culture of Puerto Rico, it's hard for it to sound authentic.
Yeah, see, that's one thing that my first plenas and my first introductions to plena was through the center. And one thing that I've noticed, and I'm really glad you touched on it, is that plena is very exciting, very improvisational, and it was born in the street. So where you might see us up here in a staged, orchestrated setting where it's like we have breaks and all this stuff, the plena is born in the street. La música de plena es de la calle. And something that we tend to rely on is what the singer is saying, where if the singer is calling a mitad coro, or the singer is saying, hey, let's throw a different song, it's very improvisational, very reactionary, and very, to whatever is going on at the time. So you might have a plena where somebody just makes up a song right then and there, and you have to pick it up. You have to, like my teachers say, 2.5 seconds, right? You have to be able to pick up those coros, those songs, those breaks, and be very reactionary. And that's something that I really enjoy about plena. It's a very in-the-moment thing that you'll never hear a plena play the same way twice, even if it's the same song, because it all depends on the environment, the people, the energy that's in the room at that time. So it's very special.
Absolutely. So, Chris, tell me more about the songs that you're doing. So, I know that we already did Flamboyan, and we did also Papochin, correct? Mm-hmm. So, and then we're gonna do one more. So, tell me about the three songs and what they're all about.
Well, the first song that was sang just a moment ago, it talks about Roble y Flamboyan. This is for all the suffering of Puerto Rico, what they went through to Hurricane Maria, and about everybody what's going on right now with the pandemic. This is a song that I wrote for Segundo Ruiz Belvis and for the world to hear that you can't give up in life. You cannot give up. You got to go stand, and you got to go, and you have to continue. You have to continue and go on in life. And that's the one.
It's stronger, like basically the metaphor in the song is that we're stronger than the oak and the flamboyant tree, which and the flamboyant tree is the most symbolic tree in Puerto Rico. Is like our national identity is tied to that tree, right? So the landscape in Puerto Rico has all these flamboyanes, and it's a very strong tree and very resilient tree. So I think that it's important to point that out, is that there's this metaphor about how Puerto Ricans, no matter how many hurricanes and earthquakes and pandemics you throw at them, we stay strong like the flamboyan and the oak tree, right? So that's why the first time I heard that song, I was like, this is a winner. We have to record this, and we're in the process of doing that. And we've already recorded a couple of times on video and stuff, but we're gonna come out with the single pretty soon so that you can hear it from the studio, right?
Yeah, we want it to be perfect because we love you guys.
Yeah, and also the second song is dedicated to one of our best pleneros in Puerto Rico. His name is Ramon Rivera, alias Papochin. He's actually born in Santurce, Puerto Rico. One of the greatest pleneros, like Mon Rivera, like Torruellas, and Tito Matos, and all the pleneros. You know, salute to all of them over there to Puerto Rico. And that song was dedicated for Papochin because Papochin, it's a personality. He's a very happy person. He goes everywhere and party around with everybody. When everybody's sad, Papochin is there. Even when we went with the Cepedas, when Roberto went to Modesto, Papochin has been la alegría in Puerto Rico. Absolutely. That's why we'll dedicate that song to Papochin.
And what I love about that song is that it's in a different pace. It's a slower song, and it changes also in speed and different things. But I also love how it's really a picture of the streets of Puerto Rico. It's this character of the streets, this person that is a musician, a well-regarded musician, a pillar in the community, somebody that people know. So it's the story of this man, and to me, it speaks about the knowledge and the cultural experience that Chris brings to Chicago, because we're making Papochin famous in Chicago. And then there's one last song that you haven't done, but you're going to do now.
Yeah, I'm going to do that one. But basically, the third song that we're going to be singing in just a few minutes, it's about the Puerto Ricans here in Chicago, like we all united. Humboldt Park has been the heart of all Puerto Ricans, and basically has been the heart for all of us. And when we think about Humboldt Park, we think about our home in Puerto Rico.
Soy de la Division, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Soy de la Division, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Soy de la División, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Soy de la División, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Vengan los muchachos, vengan las muchachas del Centro Cultural a tocar la plena que vamos a gozar. Vamos para la División, esquina Humboldt Park, nada más. Soy de la División, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. De bandera, bandera, mira, vengo yo a sonar con este requinto que acaba de sonar. Somos los pleneros, venimos, mira, a gozar. Soy de la División, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Un saludo a Tito y Dali Samuel del Centro Cultural, que viene a estos pleneros, que que vienen a gozar. Son una leyenda allá en la Humboldt Park. Soy de la Division, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Ay, tocando la rica plena. Ay, goma el toro y la plena buena. Ay, de ese centro cultural. Suena, suena, suena aquí. Ay, suena, suena, suena allá. Deciden los pleneros, dicen. Ay, come el requinto que me pone a gozar. Vienen a sonar. Dale a Quincy, hazme la sonar, mi hermano. Vienen a sonar. Vienen a sonar. Donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Ay, tocando la rica plena. Ay, vamos a sonar. Coro, soy de la Division, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Soy de la Division, esquina Humboldt Park, donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Donde los pleneros vienen a sonar. Para ti, Humboldt Park.